Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Harry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And I told you on Friday that I was holding something over for show prep for today. And luckily with this, horrible short-term memory that I have, I remembered what I was holding over. Now, you may recall, every Friday, that's the day that I answer your questions. You can send those over at any time, AMA at fppradio.com. That's AMA as in Ask Me Anything at fppradio.com. And you can also go to the website, fppradio.com, and then ask me anything using the contact form on the page, Ask Me Anything. fppradio.com/AMA. And that way you can be a little anonymous because, yes, you do need to put a name and an email, but it doesn't necessarily have to be your actual name and your actual email address. So it does allow you to ask questions anonymously. fppradio.com/AMA. Now let's jump into the stories. Or, the articles, the show prep that I have. And I've got one on empathy that it's not the one that I teased slightly on Friday, but it's one that I'm teasing now that I may or may not have time to get into. But this kind of fits in a little bit. It's more self-empathy. And I realize that might not actually be a thing, but I'm coining the term now in case it is a thing. Headline: Why people don't have to like you and why you don't have to care. And this is something that I think a lot of people struggle with. People want to be liked, right? Now, I'm sure that there's, probably some psychopath that really honestly doesn't care what people think of them. But, your average, run-of-the-mill, average non-psychopath, non-sociopath wants people to like them. The article here begins, we all want to heal the world and make it a better place. And it is vital. However, before you begin to attempt launching on the world stage and getting involved in the lives of family, friends, and in a few cases, people you don't even know, put a spotlight on yourself. Are you feeling drained and exhausted with everyone needing or wanting something from you? Our boundaries are mixed when we float on sensitive and caring bubbles. The toxic bubbles start bursting those bubbles. Even if we convince ourselves that it is beneficial, red lights will appear and all comes to a halt. You feel like no one cares when you are the one that really has an issue. Well, now this is where you need to do for yourself as you do for others. And yes, this is an intentional play, I believe, an intentional play on the golden rule of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So do for yourself as you do for others. Now, everybody needs to be liked, but remember that you can easily slip into this mission the wrong way. You first need to focus on liking yourself before you get other people to like you. You bend over backwards for other people all the time, and yes, they may like all that you do, but ask yourself, do you actually like you? Think on that for just a moment. You don't have to say the answer out loud. But again, ask yourself, do you actually like you? Now, you might be thinking, I love myself. I take care of myself. Here's all the things that I do for myself. Well, you can love someone or something and not actually like that thing or person. So do you actually like yourself? With more inner stability, you become less of an emotional roller coaster. Change your negativity, control your emotions and your feelings. Happiness does not depend on external factors. It links directly to your sense of contentment. It is possible and easy to be happy by just being yourself. You need to accept who you are in order to grow. Your mind cannot simply be logged into. People cannot just explore how you feel and how you are doing. They can just assume those things. We're constantly bogged down with the needs of other people. Our time, energy, and space leave no personal productivity. A crucial way forward is learning the gentle art of saying no. And this is something that is really hard for a lot of people. And especially for the people that are always told, well, you have to say yes to things. And I'm going to, kind of spoiler warning here, and I think that that's absolutely ridiculous having to say spoiler warning when you're about to talk about a movie that's been out for a really long time, but some people get their panties in a wad because they got nothing better to do. Anyway, the movie Yes Man is about a guy that he's, kind of depressed and going through, some period in his life to where he doesn't really want to do much of anything. Like, he goes to work because he has to, and then he goes home and just sort of zones out. And one of his old friends, acquaintances, if you will, invites him to this conference. And the guy, I forget the guy's name that's running the conference, you got to say yes to life. And so Jim Carrey's character winds up, making a covenant with himself to where he has to say yes to everything. And then a weird, bunch of little adventures happen. And then he learns the truth. And I'll go ahead and give you the spoiler when we come back here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Hey, this is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've been working with computer programmer Derek Slopey to create Fiend Phone. I'm using Fiend Phone right now to talk with and record one of my co-hosts in real time. Take it, Davi.
Hey, this is Davi Barker, and I'm 1,000 miles away from Michael, but we sound like we're in the same room.
We sure do, Davi. So, Davi, please tell the nice people more about Fiend Phone.
Fiend Phone is free, open-source software that opens up a global world of possibilities for collaborative, high-quality remote voice media production, and I'm digging it.
People can try the Windows beta version of Fiend Phone right now at fiendphone.com. But we're also raising money to vastly improve Fiend Phone and vastly improve independent talk media worldwide.
So go to fiendphone.com to help out. Who will build the audio roads? We will, with your help.
That's fiendphone.com. FEENPHONE.com. Foxtrot, Echo, Echo, November, phone.com.
Fiend Phone. I never knew remote audio could be this good.
This is Paige Peterson from Made Safe, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. So the lesson was, you don't have to say yes to everything. You just have to begin saying yes to some things, and then you realize that it opens you up to more opportunities, and then you begin realizing when to actually say no. And again, for some people, the simple act of saying yes is going to be difficult because they're so ingrained to just nope, 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 never open up to anything, nope, nope, nope. So you've got to find that balance between saying no to everything and saying yes to everything. Figure out which things need to get a no and which things need to get a yes. It's great, the article here writes about why it's okay that people don't like you. It's great to get compliments from other people, but if you rely on validation of how good you are from others, you can easily plunge into an emotional roller coaster. When you appreciate yourself, you don't go out of your way unnecessarily, and people start to like the real you. This lack of genuineness in your gestures, if you camouflage yourself according to different strokes for the different folks you're surrounded by to fit in. Or rather, there is a lack of genuineness in your gestures if you camouflage yourself. Healing the scars of sacrifice when you're too busy focusing on the needs of everybody else around you, like your spouse, your children, your friends, your coworkers. You give little thought to yourself and your own needs. The noble tunes of self-sacrifice has a soul rhythm, does it not? We're taught, instilled with, and ingrained with doing for others before doing for ourselves. Have you noticed that the people who self-sacrifice the most always get the short end of the stick when they decide to do something for themselves and go out and play? They become the substitute and standby players. And the ones who seem the most selfish end up in top ranks. Question that. Have you ever been taught that it is selfish to think about you? It may be desirable, putting your loved ones before you, but withholding your own needs will be a backslide for you. It is affirming to the world that you do not matter. I'm going to say that one again because, well, I often repeat things that I need to hear. When you put other people before you, it affirms to the world that you do not matter. Now let's examine what emotional needs really are. If you're not clear about your emotional needs to yourself, you're not clear to others. To thrive in this game we call life, you need to resolve conflicts, be aware of emotional needs, and ensure you get them met. All around you, take the support you provide for granted while you perceive your needs as self-absorbed. You do not value your needs, or rather, if you do not value your needs, nobody can or will value them for you. People treat us in the way we demand to be treated. If we treat ourselves as if we have no value, others will treat us that way excessively. And then we get frustrated when we get no respect. And I know exactly what voice you're hearing in your head because it's the one I'm hearing in mine. And that would be Mr. Rodney Dangerfield. And no respect. No respect. Back now to the article. Others treat you with no regards for your own needs because ultimately you do not have regard for yourself. But there is a way that you can resolve this. And the article here has a plan of action. They say, do this exercise. Picture yourself in a happy personal or business relationship. So I'm just going to pause briefly so that you can picture yourself in this relationship, whether it be personal relationship, the man or the woman of your dreams, or the men or women, the men and women, whatever floats your boat. Or maybe it's a business relationship. Just picture that. How would you ideally be treated in the picture? Would they linger around you all the time, or would they give you your own space? Write down in detail what the perfect relationship for you would entail. So go ahead. You can pause. Hit the pause button if you want. Write this down. Then when you're done writing, unpause. All right, you're done? Now break down the written details with your own needs. An example you may note is that the person of your dreams allows you personal space, meaning that your emotional needs include personal space and someone with other interests that will not smother yours. What are your needs? Make a note. List your main priorities in the current stage. Examine your key values and if you're living a life aligned with them. What are your immediate goals? What are your goals for the upcoming year? You can write out, your 5-year, your 10-year goals that you want to accomplish at some time. And, when sometime is. It's something that, probably will never happen. But, hey, it would be really nice if I fill in the blank. How do you prefer to spend your time? What is an activity or a project that you would like to start? Ask yourself what you get from being the savior and the rescuer of everyone around you and getting caught up in the life maze and dramas of other people. If you're too focused on everybody else, what can you do for your own life? In fact, by not helping others, you actually help them move forward. People need to make their own decisions and find their own solutions. And when you do this for them, you're not really helping them. If you take a step back and get to know yourself, meeting your own needs will make you happy. And if everyone did this, the world would be a much better place. Now let's talk about sympathy and empathy when we come back here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry, online at fppradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Changing gears here for the remainder of the show, but before we do, I want to make sure that I tell you about a way that you can keep your money in the free market. That is assuming that you use free market money. Go to spendabit.fppradio.com. I was just on the site looking around 2.5 plus million things, or 2.5 million plus. They have over 2.5 million items, and all of the things you can buy with Bitcoin or other virtual currencies. Spendabit.fppradio.com. And if you're a Bitcoin accepting merchant, like I am, ask about their merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.fppradio.com. What is the difference between sympathy and empathy? Well, very quickly, sympathy would be saying, I'm sorry that you're in pain. Empathy is, I know what this is like, or I feel your pain. Empathy is when you're able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, or maybe you've dealt with that situation previously. Sympathy is just feeling bad that someone else is in a situation. In general, and again, article from Lifehack, the link will be in the show notes. In general, they say sympathy and empathy are often confused with one another. There's a good reason, primarily because both words deal with similar emotions and are derived from the Greek term pathos, which pertains to suffering and feelings. These words are also commonly ascribed in situations of sadness and mourning, as people try to identify with a particular group or individual that has been afflicted by tragedy. Despite the similarities in terms of application and origin, however, there are core differences that separate the two words. Sympathy describes the feelings of compassion and pity that we may have for another person's plight. And I'm going to give an example. Mr. T has sympathy because he pities the fool. If Mr. T had empathy, he would say, I know what it's like to be a fool. Never thought I would quote Mr. T in discussing sympathy and empathy, but there you have it. Let's actually explore the differences here a little bit more. In our bid to explore this further, let's return to the Greek origin of both words. We have already touched on how they are both derived from pathos. However, the prefix sym, as in sympathy, also relates to the Greek iteration syn, S-Y-N, which means together. Conversely, the prefix em, E-M, as in empathy, derives from the Greek description of within, highlighting the core difference between showing solidarity with another and vicariously immersing yourself in their plight. The difference, I'll explain the difference in a slightly different way. Sympathy is being on someone's front porch saying, oh, yeah, your house kind of is dirty. Empathy is being inside the house helping them clean. And again, that's not the perfect analogy, but it does give you that difference of whether or not you can actually understand and fully relate, or you just feel bad that they're going through the thing. Again, the S-Y-M means together, the E-M means within. To put this into context, the article says, let's cast our minds back to David Beckham's sending off for England in the 1998 World Cup against Argentina. While there was vehement criticism of his actions and the impact they had on the team, England was eliminated after a valiant display. Casual and nonpartisan observers had sympathy for Beckham, as they believed he was being harshly treated. Fellow professionals who had endured similar scrutiny during their careers expressed empathy with Beckham, as they were able to place themselves directly in his shoes and understand precisely how he was being affected. The same principle applies to individuals who have also suffered heavy criticism or persecution in the workplace, even if their experience not directly relates to that of Beckham. How do those differences manifest themselves in terms of thought and deed? That being the difference between sympathy and empathy. To begin with, sympathizers will share their concerns and condolences with others while openly admitting that they have no direct knowledge of how they actually feel. This often translates into generic support that is offered unconditionally without actionable advice or additional input that may diminish the sufferer's state of mind. In contrast, those with the ability to emphasize or empathize, they spelled that wrong in this sentence. Here, those with the ability to empathize will instantly immerse themselves in the shoes of others by tapping into a shared experience or relating to a similar one. This means that you may visualize how the individual in question is feeling, and you have the subsequent ability to treat them in a way that is relevant and appropriate. Similarly, an empathetic outlook enables you to offer valuable insight and advice, which may help the individual to develop new coping mechanisms. How these can help you be more compassionate? Stay tuned. Peace, love, Liberty Radio.
Why do they hate us? Is libertarianism compatible with Islam? Davi Barker answers these questions and more in Voluntary Islam and Other Essays. He advances the voluntarist cause with analysis of the confluence of values between Islam and libertarianism, as well as contemporary movements from the Tea Party to the Arab Spring. Voluntary Islam by Davi Barker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap, Spendabit, and Amazon at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry. Online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. So, how can sympathy and empathy, while being different, allow you to be a more compassionate person? At this point, it's worth noting that being both empathetic and sympathetic is mutually exclusive. This means you can showcase both individually, either simultaneously or as each individual scenario requires. It's important to remember that as having both a sympathetic and an empathetic mindset enables you to become a compassionate person who can offer the relevant comfort and support for those in need. And here's some ways that it helps you be more compassionate. Both sympathy and empathy will uplift those around you. I'm skipping the paragraphs that they have written here to read the headlines only for now. It inspires action. It is infectious. I'll actually read the paragraph. Here, we already touched on how compassion can create a state of elevation and inspire others. And there's no doubt that this has a dominant effect on the minds of others. James Fowler of UC San Diego claims that this is the representation of how kindness reaches out to others and sparks a chain reaction, and not only because people feel compelled to comply with the actions of others. Number 4, it makes us less likely to avoid those in pain. Let's face the facts. The sight of others being in pain can be distressing, and it's natural to seek flight during such times. It has been proven that a fortified sense of compassion changes this conditioned response over time, as avoiding negative emotions is replaced directly with positive, compassionate actions. Number 5, it makes us more attractive to others. From a purely insular perspective, it is also interesting to note that being compassionate makes us more attractive to other people. Studies on dating preferences has shown that both men and women rank kindness as one of the most important qualities that they look for in a partner, as this ties into our fundamental desire to be loved and taken care of at all times. So how can you become more compassionate as an individual? Well, they've got some suggestions here in the article that I don't have time to go through. So, as always, I will post the link in the show notes. You can read the article at your leisure. And of course, don't forget, every Friday, I answer your questions. AMA@FPPradio.com. Or if you want to be kind of anonymous, you can do that as well. FPPradio.com/AMA. Send those questions over. I'll answer on Friday. This has been Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.